Hello everyone and welcome to today's lecture on Foundation of Cell Biology, brought to you by Mastering Up. I am Sakshi, your course instructor, and I am excited to guide you through this topic. So today we will explore the overview of cell theory and its crucial role in botany. This session will give you a deeper appreciation of why cell is considered the cornerstone of life. So let's dive in and uncover the mysteries of cell biology. So in this module, we will be covering the theory in detail. We will explore about the fundamental principle of cell theory and how the smallest entity capable of performing all life processes. We will try to understand structure, function, and organization of life. So now the question arises: why are we studying cell theory in botany? So let me explain. First, it helps in understanding lives as a building block. So cell theory provide us with the framework to understand how plants, like all living organisms, are built from cells. So these cells are not just structural unit, but they are functional powerhouses driving everything from growth to reproduction. Second is their application in plant science. uh, uh, in plant science, it helps us to explore plant specific phenomena like photosynthesis, which occurs in chloroplast, and study how plants cells from tissue such as roots, stem, and leaves. Third is it about advancing agriculture and sustainability. So by studying cells, scientists can have been able to scientists have been able to engineer better crop varieties, tackle plant diseases, and improve agricultural sustainability to combat like global changes and food security. So in this session we will build a strong understanding of cell theory and see why it's considered the cornerstone of biology. So let's get started. So the journey began in 1665 with a scientist named Robert Hooke using a simple microscope. So Hooke examined a thin slice of cork and observed small box-like structures, and he named these structures cells because they reminded him of small rooms or cellula in a monastery. So, however, it is important to note that the cells Hooke observed were not living, and they were remnants of dead plant cell. Still, this discovery was groundbreaking because it introduced the idea of organisms are made up of smallest structural unit. So why was this significant? Because Hooke's observation marked a beginning of cell biology, first thing. A field that has allowed scientists to explore life on microscopic level. It also paved the ways for advancement in microscopy, enabling us to study both living and non-living structures in incredible detail. So this milestone remind us of the importance of observation and innovation in science. Hooke's work maybe have been simple by today's standard, but it laid the foundation for everything we know now about cell. So yeah, it was important. Origin of cell theory. So let us now explore how cell theory came to be. thanks to the contributors of several pioneering scientists in 19th century, the first step in formulating cell theory came in 1838, when Matthias Schleden, a German botanist, stated that plants are made up of cells. So Schlieden's work on plant kingdom, and he observed the basic structure of plants and basics that he observed that basic structure of plants was composed of cells, which helped to shape our understanding of plant biology basically. Then in 1839, Theodor Schwann, who was a German zoologist, extended his idea to animals. Schwann observed that animal tissues were also composed of cells, which led him to conclude that cells were the basic unit for all living organisms, not just plants. This was a pivotal movement in biology as it introduced the idea that cell is fundamental unit of both structural and function in all living organisms. Then later, however, the true formulation in the cell theory came from Rudolf Virchow in 1855. So Virchow, he was a German pathologist, made a crucial addition to the theory, which his famous statement omnis cellula a cellula, which means every cell comes from a cell or a pre-existing cell, and this principle emphasizes that new cells arises through the division of existing cell, which remain a cornerstone of modern cell biology. We will also learn about modern cell theory in upcoming slides. So what did the scientists contribute? I will summarize it up once again. Schleden discovered the plants are made up of cells, and Schwann expanded his concept to animals, establishing that all the living organisms are made up of cells. Then Virchow came and confirmed that cells came from pre-existing cells, providing the final piece of the theory puzzle. So their collective work laid the groundwork to our modern understanding of cell as a basic unit of life. So the principles of cell theory. So now we know that the origins of cell theory. So let's break down its core principles now, which are fundamental to understanding life itself. The first principle is that all living organisms are made of cells. This means that from the simplest bacteria to the most complex plants and animals, everything is composed of one or more cells, and the cells are the building blocks of life. And the second principle state that the cell is the basic unit of life. So it says every function necessary for life, like metabolism, growth, reproduction, which takes place within cell, and cell are the structural and functional unit that carry out all these processes. The third principle says that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. This means that cell doesn't appear out of nowhere. New cells are created through the division of existing one, ensuring life continues and evolves over time. This idea was solidified by Virchow's famous statement, omnis cellula a cellula, as I have also told you in previous slide. These principles together form the backbone of cell biology and help explain the unity of light at cellular level. So now the topic came the modern cell theory. So the cell theory has evolved as scientific knowledge advanced. And the modern cell theory builds upon the original ideas, adding few more important concept to it. The first, uh, the first, the first is metabolism, which says the sum, uh, the sum of all chemical reactions occur within cells. These reactions allow cell to extract the energy from nutrients, and carry out the essential functions that sustains life. And the second one says about genetics, that genetics plays a central role in the cell, and all cells contain genetic material which is passed down during cell division. This genetic information guides cell to function, growth, and reproduction. And the third one emphasizes about the unity in diversity. So while all organisms are made up of cells, those cells are remarkably similar to their chemical composition and biological process, regardless whether they are a part of bacterium, plant, or animal. So, by understanding these modern principles, we gain deeper way uh, um, insight into the way that cells operate and interact to maintain life, both in individual organisms and across species. Move on to the next slide, which is about significance in botany. So, how does cell theory apply to botany? So, it is incredibly significant in several key areas. First, it allows us to understand plant structure. So, by studying plant cells, we can understand how plant tissues like roots, leaves, stems are formed, how they function to keep the plant alive and growing. Second, it forms the basis for the advancements in research. With the principles of cell theory, we can study plants, genetics, engineer better crops, and improve agricultural practices. Also, this helps us to create plants that are more resilient to diseases, pests, and environmental stress. Third, the cell theory is essential for advancing sustainable agriculture. As we study how plant cell works, we can develop crops through higher yields and better nutritional value, which is crucial for addressing food security around the world. So, in short, what cell theory provides is that the foundation for studying everything from plant growth and development to genetic modification and agricultural innovation. Exceptions to cell theory. So, uh, while cell theory is a powerful framework, we all know, but there are few exceptions that change its universality. The first example, as you can see here, is the first stated is viruses. Viruses are most notable exceptions. Unlike living organisms, viruses first do not have cellular structure. They lack plasma membrane and the machinery needed to carry out metabolism. Instead, they rely on the cells of a host organism to reproduce and propagate. Despite not being considered alive outside a host, viruses contain genetic material and they can mutate and evolve. So, and the another example, another exceptions involve multinucleate organisms like certain fungi and algae. For example, like rhizopus, a fungus, or Wucheria and alga have cells that contain more than one nucleus. Uh, these organisms do not have distinct these organisms do not have distinct cells, but they still function as living organisms. These exceptions don't invalidate the cell theory, but remind us that the life is diverse and there are unique forms of life that do not fit the classic cell-based model. Move on to the next slide. Okay, so we have reached the conclusion. So, in conclusion, uh, cell theory is a more than just a fundamental concept, right? It's the cornerstone of a biological science. Understanding that all living organisms are made of cells, uh, that the cells as the basic unit of life, and that new cells come from existing ones allows us to explain wide range of biological process. So, also in botany, this knowledge is essential for studying plant structure, improving agricultural practices, and addressing global changes like food security and climate change. So, while we have discussed the corner principle of cell theory, we have also acknowledged some exceptions that illustrate the complexity and the diversity of life. Still, cell theory remains a crucial tool in the study of biology, guiding scientific research in plant science, medicine, genetics, and beyond that. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have a deeper understanding of how cells form foundation of life. Please feel free to ask any questions.